So we're talking about, healing grief by creating new memories, and that really is the way forward. Okay, and I'm going to explain why that is. And in fact, I'm going to talk about why we even feel grief. I mean, obviously, you and I are going to say, well, because our loved one died, so I'm sad that they're not here, which is true. We're sad that they are physically no longer here, correct? Those of us in this group, or at least are beginning to know, or some of us absolutely know, that our loved ones are still with us. So that said, I understand it's a hard pivot to, okay, you're not in a body, but you're here. Well, what does that mean? And why, if I know that and even have communication contact, why do I still feel this grief at times? Some of you, it's lessening, but it still comes, right? Like, so what is going on? Let's talk about that before we talk about the importance of creating new memories and traditions, okay, to heal that grief, and just as importantly, to connect with them, okay? Because they actually do wanna celebrate with us, and they quite often come closer during the holidays because they want to connect with us. They know that we are getting together with our other loved ones, family, friends, etcetera, and they wanna share in that, and so they quite often are with us during those times, right? So, why then is grief hard to let go of? Why does it take time? So how spirits explained it to me is what we're grieving is obviously physical, like they're not in the body. So we can't hug them, we can't see them in 3D terms, right? We can't experience them in the way we're used to. So the body, our physical body, I want you to think of it this way. It is as if it has a consciousness, a mind of its own. It has its own programming. It needs to have that in order to function in this 3D illusionary world, because you need to believe that this world, even though it's a dream, we're all dreaming individually and collectively. You have to believe that it's real. So therefore, you have a body and an ego that thinks, well, this is real. This is all there is. Because if you didn't think that, then you wouldn't be able to dive into this experience because you keep going, oh yeah, this isn't real. What am I doing here? Whatever. You wouldn't embrace it. So we have to believe that this is real. That's part of the game, right? If you think of this as a virtual reality game, you have to believe it's the game, otherwise you can't play the game. Alan's saying, yeah, it is like a computer, a game, a video game, because if you play the game, you got to go by the rules, you got to believe what's happening. If you're playing the game and you go, well, this is nonsense, this is ridiculous, you're not going to play the game. You're not going to get what you want out of it, which is an experience. You want to have a new experience. So your body, therefore, is grieving the loss of your loved one, even if, like in my case, have been on this path for now 36 years. So I know that we live beyond death. I know that I went through the loss of my brother, both my parents, and I connected with them afterwards. I knew they were okay. And of course it was still sad, but trust me, my grief wasn't bad at all. In fact, I didn't cry when my parents crossed because they had lived a long life, and my mother had been suffering at the end. My dad was physically kind of getting weaker, and so he was ready to go. So I really didn't cry because I could feel them and I could feel their joy at being on the other side because they were free of their bodies. And my brother, especially, because he, as my friend Swati said, she tuned into him saying, okay, Carlton, how are you? Like, aren't you sad that your family is missing you? And she saw him turning cartwheels because he had been sick for the last 10 years of his life. He had dealt with dialysis and was really in pain a lot of the time. So with them, it was really easy to celebrate their transition, to know that they came as far as they could, and therefore this was the next step. Okay, so I didn't. I cried for my sister-in-law, and I cried for my nephews who lost their father, but I wasn't crying at missing my brother because I knew he was better off. And in fact, now we have a better relationship because we didn't get along when he was in a body. He was always jealous of me for some crazy reason and very competitive and sometimes outright mean. So when he crossed over, it's like, "Oh, I have my brother, the real brother that I never had, and so why would I be sad about that?" But in Alan's case, let's go back to that because that's what you're dealing with, somebody that you love, whether it's your mother, your child, your husband, your wife, whatever, you miss them. They may not have been ready to go in the sense of, that they had unfinished business. They weren't like my parents that lived to a ripe old age and they're ready to pass. They might have been younger, might have just been started to get things together, and then boom, they're gone, and you're shocked and everyone else is shocked and you're grieving. So, but now Alan's showing me your body is hit with that shock, like they're not here. And he says, remember, the ego is programmed with fear. So it notices somebody you love with all your heart is gone, and it's like gonna freak. Like, what does that mean? Who else might leave? What if I leave? What if I die? Right? The ego, the physical consciousness that you are, okay, not your higher self, is afraid of death. Let's be honest here. That's why so many people have a fear of death because it believes this reality is all there is. It's been programmed to do that, right? It's doing its job. Oh, this reality is all there is. There's nothing else. There cannot be any spirit world. There cannot be any way to connect through the veil. That's why that physical mind of yours, when you start going down that road, starts to go, this can't be real. You're making it up. It starts to throw up thoughts of doubt because it's not programmed to grasp that you are non-physical. If it did, you wouldn't be able to live this virtual reality and believe that it's real. Now, the thing is, spiritual growth, spiritual awakening is about remembering that truth in a deliberate way so that you still can live the virtual reality life, right? Like play the game, but yet know that it is a game. So the kind of paradox here is the more awake you are, the more you understand that this is a game and yet you can take it seriously, but not seriously if you want to put it that way. You can still reap the benefit of what you're learning from being in the 3D world and in this virtual reality game, but yet you recognize when, oh, here's the game part. I don't have to get emotionally distraught over it. I don't have to get plugged in. I can choose to step into my higher mind, my higher self, and see it from that perspective and realize, oh, this is a game. This is interesting. Okay, I get it. And at the same time, I could choose to not align with my higher self, higher mind, and get plugged into the game and get all dramatic, get all upset, get all angry, fearful, whatever. That's okay. You came for that physical experience, the physical human experience of that virtual reality game. But the point is, we're here to be cognizant and fully aware that it is a game so that we have a choice. I can be in the game or not be in the game. Whereas most people believe the game is all that is and it's real, and they don't realize they have a choice. So therefore, what happens? They feel like they're a victim. And so when your loved one crosses, of course we feel like a victim. Like, this is not what I want. Like, why is this happening to me? And people start questioning, God. Like, why did God let my husband die when we were praying and affirming and doing everything we knew how to do to keep him alive? We were following our guidance, perhaps, etc. But the thing is, the soul is ultimately the one that's in charge. So even if we, on a human physical mind level, were affirming, believing, doing everything in our power to create this reality where a loved one recovers or from their illness, what have you, if they still may exit because that means it's just their soul's time. It doesn't mean they wanted to. Quite often they're fighting that. I know many of you know that, but still, in the end, the soul is gonna have its way because the soul knows there's nothing to fight. The soul knows, "Hey, we're on to the next adventure." And the soul knows if we wanna stay in touch, we can still do that. So we don't have to leave our loved ones if our loved ones in a body are open to it and willing to do what they can to raise their frequency, their vibration, so that we can connect through the veil, which is what many of you are doing, right? So the grief feels so devastating because you are so identified with your physical mind, which and everybody is, including I was. Trust me. I mean, I was just like all of you, maybe a little less because I could hear spirit and then I immediately heard Alan. But that didn't mean I didn't long for him, yearn for him, had to mourn the loss of whatever might have we still could have had, right? Going through my mind, things like what could have been that never was, and all the things we missed out on that, we kind of just took for granted or were complacent about. We all go through that, the regrets and everything. Okay, I had to process all that. And many of you are doing that too. You're processing your remorse or guilt about things you said or didn't say, or did or didn't do, and all that and everything, right? Or you're angry at them for what they did or didn't do. Like I was angry at Alan for so long. I screamed at him for 2 whole days, cursing him in my house, and he kept saying, "Go ahead, go ahead." Like, go ahead. Someone is saying, "Yeah, why is this happening for me?" Right? And, my guides say, "Why is anything happening to anyone? Why does tragedy happen to anyone?" Because tragedy will eventually visit pretty much everyone unless they leave this world early before, something happens. But live long enough or even live a little while and you're going to suffer some losses. Somebody you know that you love is going to die, whether that's a family member, a partner, a friend, whoever, and it's going to be a shock. It is a shock to not see the person anymore and realize on some deep level, well, that what about me? As well as I miss this person. What about me? So if you haven't examined your beliefs about life after death, about whether you are eternal, that your ego self, your physical mind could literally have go into panic. Like, well, if they could go, what about this other person I love? Or what about me? And so the survival fears can really trigger in for some people. Not that didn't so much happen for me, but for some of you that could be, right? And also some of you have had other losses besides your partner or your parent or that primary loved one. Okay, so when grief hits, here's the other thing Spirit wants me to remind you is that when we're in grief, especially with a relationship that was so primary to us, and again, whether that's a parent, child, or partner, that's going to bring up any other grief we have not processed or any other losses. Okay, so think of grief as not just the loss of somebody in the physical, but it could be loss like of another relationship that was really important to you. And Spirit saying any loss that was significant to you. Grief dredges up all that. It's because it's all kind of in the same energy field. Let's just say that. It's the same vibration. Grief, loss, tragedy. So if you haven't processed grief from before, process meaning you haven't allowed yourself to fully feel it and let it move through you. That's what process is. It's not like analyzing it. Okay, we're talking about emotional processing. We say just feeling it so it moves through you. Like I had to rage at Alan for 2 days until the rage was dissipated because it was literally stuck in my body. I could feel it. And then I was a lot lighter. So you have to process and grieve. You have to cry. You have to get angry, whatever it is, let that out. If you repress it, it's just going to turn toxic. So you might have had another loss before and you didn't process it, so you held it in. So when you go through another loss like the one you have had recently, all that's going to come up. You can't get away from it. It feelings feelings never die. Feelings never die. You feel something, that's your emotion. That's your feeling. You're meant to feel it, let it move through you, cry for or yell like I did for 2 days if you have to, and then you move on. But if you feel the rage, you feel the pain, and you stuff it in and you shut down, all it does is create distortion within you, and something like someone's death could bring that all up again, and that's why it feels so horrible. Okay, so you've got to grieve, and yet at the same time, remember, for those of you with us, you're here ostensibly because you want to explore this connection with your loved ones through the veil. This means you have to create new experiences with them. It doesn't come by itself. They're not in a body, right? So it just it's not going to manifest without you taking the time. So in our academy, for example, I talk a lot with our students about making time for, if it's a partner, like for date nights where you go somewhere. It's your, like Alan and I have a restaurant that we like that is our favorite. And so I'll go, not all the time with him, but be date night. We'll go there for a dinner. And while through dinner, I'll talk to him in my mind, or I'll eat something that's his favorite food sometimes rather than my favorite, that kind of thing. And or go to the movies, a movie that I know we would both like, or maybe even one that mostly he would like, but I'll go for him. But I connect with him deliberately, and I know he's there. Okay, so I have been actively creating new memories with Alan. That's how my grief dissipated in about 9 months. It doesn't mean after 9 months I never shed a tear, don't get me wrong. But the bulk of it, the worst of it, was gone in 9 months. And today, I don't even know how to find grief. Literally, I don't know how to miss Alan like I used to, because he's so here. I mean, I feel his energy. I hear him. I see him clairvoyantly. I know he's here. He's constantly guiding me, talking to me. He'll say, "Sit down, and we're going to talk about something." We have this long conversation. And I don't always have to go into a trance to do it. It's like he's just here talking. Okay. But it took time to get there. I'm 3 years into my journey. And I'm pleased, do not misunderstand. I'm not saying it's gonna take you 3 years. Some of you could take you, I don't know, a year and a half. It's gonna take whatever length of time it takes, because everybody's different, your loved ones are different. But we need to create new memories with them now. So that's why I want to talk about creating, these new memories and new traditions. And let me start by describing my first Christmas without Alan. It was really bleak. I mean, literally, I had no Christmas tree. I didn't even have a poinsettia plant, which is normally, in the past, I would at least get poinsettia plants, in my house, because I love poinsettia. So I'd get like several poinsettia plants at the minimum if I was lazy about, Christmas. I didn't have energy to buy that. I didn't have any tree thing, although if I remember correctly, his son and his son's wife had given me this wooden kind of tree. It's not really a tree, but it had lights on, and I didn't even feel like putting that up, okay? So I had literally nothing. I literally felt like I spent Christmas in the dark. I mean, there was no light. And and it was terrible, I admit it. But I didn't have any group like this, or teacher laces like me, to say, well, this is what you could do. Nobody was talking to me. Nobody's helping me. I was just on my own, and Alan was doing his best. And he was coming in. I mean, I could feel him, and that was fine. And my son and was here with me. And don't get me wrong, I was loved and supported. But as far as this Christmas celebration, like, there was none of that. There was none of that. And then when and this was, of course, COVID was happening, so I couldn't even spend much time, like, there was no Thanksgiving, right? At least now there's some people that could still be dealing with COVID, but people are getting together, right? Well, back then, Alan passed when COVID was just spiking, and because this was in 2020. So I was really isolated, and it was tough. But after that, okay, I started to celebrate certain things, like you'd wanna celebrate our anniversary, and so now we go out every when it's our anniversary, we go out with our son, actually. And our son, bless his heart, we have a good kid there. He'll pay for dinner for me and his dad. That's what he did this last anniversary. He paid for that. And actually, we celebrate 2 anniversaries, our earthly anniversary and then our heavenly anniversary because we got married, remarried. So we actually have 2 dates in February that we celebrate our anniversary, and we go out to dinner, and I eat the food that Alan likes. And this last anniversary, it was so funny because we made reservations at this restaurant chain that Alan really liked. And we got there, and the guy said, "Oh, my sorry, I don't know what happened, but your name got erased in our book, and we gave away your table, but I have another table. It just have to take a little while to set it up." And we go, "No problem." We were fine. And so when they finally sat us, Taylor's girlfriend turns to me, she goes, "Pam, this is the same table we sat at the last time we came with Alan." I said, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, this table." And then she remembered exactly what he ordered. She remembered exactly where he sat. So I sat where Alan sat, and I ordered what he or well, I was gonna order what he ordered anyway. And it was I just got goosebumps, like, we were sitting exactly where he wanted us to sit because it was our anniversary. So she was just, like, laughing, like, "Yeah, Alan must have arranged that because how come they erased our name? That's just really weird." And so things like that have happened all the time. And now the holidays are things that I know he comes in close with, and he wants me to celebrate. Even if I can't, like last Thanksgiving, I couldn't do Thanksgiving again because my son and his girlfriend got exposed to COVID, so they had to cancel the Thanksgiving again and couldn't even see me, but I didn't care. It's like, I don't know what I did, but I just had Thanksgiving with Alan, and I was completely happy. Okay, but if I can, I will be with our son or do something, but it doesn't even matter anymore. And so one of my birthdays, not this last one, the previous one, Alan told Swati what to get me. My friend Swati, who can see him and she can talk to him. She said that Alan told her what to get me for my birthday, and then when he told her, she was like, "Really? You want to get her that? Like really?" Like and he said, "Trust me, this is what she needs and wants." And she goes, "Okay." So he got her to get me one of those trees, like, you can kinda see behind me, there's these branches with the lights on it right there. They are, of course, it's artificial light, but he got her to get me this tree of those kind of lights, like those fairy lights on this tree, like a birch tree, and wanted it to be in a certain place by our dining table because I had broken the lamp that was on my console table, and I thought I'd have to get another lamp, but I didn't know what I wanted to get. And he said, this is a gift of light that I'm giving you, and you don't need that lamp." So so now I have that tree that I put ornaments on, and that's my Christmas tree, kind of the lazy person's Christmas tree. But every time I look at it, I know that that's him, that he gave me the light. He brought the light, and the last Christmas was just so full of light. I had all these other thing lights outside, lights in the house, and he said, "You will never be without light. You never were. It's just that when I first passed, that was the hardest part, but now we're on the other side of it." So that's kind of our tradition. We decorate, putting those ornaments on those branches on the tree, and it's really simple. Don't get me wrong. There's not any fancy ornaments. There's just these little balls that don't even break, which he wanted on purpose. He goes, "I want things that are indestructible, like our love." So these ornaments are, yeah, you can't break them. You throw it against the wall and they won't break because I know what they're made of, but they don't break. And he says that's what love is, indestructible. And yeah, those lights eventually will crumble into dust, but not for a long, long time. And for our love, the love that we all share with our loved ones, friends, loved ones, partners, that's indestructible. So create whatever traditions you want, or continue the ones that you have if that's what you want. If it makes you feel good, they're going to be all for it. I mean, really, that's all they want. But you are shifting, to an understanding that they're in this other dimension and that they are energetically, emotionally available, but not physically. So this means that we have to become more identified with our spirit, our own spirit, understanding that who we really are. Because if we're too focused and 100% think we're only our physical body, then we are going to grieve. If we think that's all they are, you're going to suffer. But if you start to realize I can interact and feel the love of my parent or my partner or whoever, then it's a whole different experience. So yeah, it might be 9 months, it might be a year, it might be 4 months. I don't know. Everyone's different. But the more you really go into and embrace this reality that they're not gone, that they're here as an energy, as consciousness, that they can communicate mind to mind, heart to heart, soul to soul, that is the path through healing grief, but it's also the path of awakening you to who you really are. And that's what they want for us. Because when they dropped their body, when the body died, because they didn't, right? The body died, they shifted, went to the fifth dimension. They became who they really are. So if we want the full connection with them, we need to do our best to become who we really are without dying, without dying and dropping the ego. It was easier for them because, dropping the body means you let go of the ego at the same time. It just happens. It's just gone. That all falls away and you realize, oh, my beliefs and assumptions were totally simply things that I accepted. They weren't the true truth eternally. It was just what I chose to believe in order to live the 3D life that I wanted to live, but that's gone now. So it's up to us if we want to raise our frequency, our vibration to more closely match theirs, then we have to start sifting through what we believe to be true because whatever, how I don't want to say lies, but whatever untruths we're hanging on to that don't really resonate with our soul. Okay, and let me remind you the difference between soul and spirit. Okay, your soul is like the unfired clay that you are, that is God. Okay, there's you, that's a soul, that it will always be you. You never cease to exist. You'll always be you, your unique version of God's source as your soul. But you also have a spirit that came into this world, in this case, into this body that you have right now. That's why your spirit remains there, okay, with them. Now, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole and go like, well, you could have many different spirits because you are multidimensional, but that's true too. But that's still part of your soul. I just would like to keep things simple. So their spirit is still connected to your spirit. All the spirits of people that you knew when they were here, okay, when they're in a body that are over there now, you will still connect with. You can still go see if you want to. You don't have to, because some people say to me, "Wait a minute, my mother-in-law was such a bitch, and I don't have anything to do with her." Well, you don't have to. Your soul is going to eternally love her, but you don't have to go hang out with your mother-in-law if you really don't want to. Literally, the way it works is if you're on the other side and for some reason, your mother-in-law comes into your reality, I don't know, maybe she comes to visit you and you say, oh, no, wait a minute. No, 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 look, gone, just gone. Like she's gone. Okay, no harm, no foul. She's not hurt. She's gone because you said, no, I don't want to see you. You get to experience whatever you want. You're the one in control of your reality there. You're in control of your reality here. Why wouldn't you be in control of it over there? So you get to have whatever you want. Don't want to talk to her, you don't talk to her. You want to talk to somebody, you will be right there with them. Now, if they don't want to talk to you, they might want to say, not ready yet. They might leave, but you will get to see them. Now, okay, I hear Alan saying, now, some of you are going to ask the question, well, how do I know my loved one wants to continue with me or wants to see me on the other side? Like you just said, maybe they'll go, well, don't want to be with her. He said, come on, if they loved you And even if they were distorted when they were here, meaning like they had problems emotionally, they were maybe unkind to you, what have you, all right? They loved you and you loved them, and you know if you did, and you know if they did, okay? That doesn't change. They're not going to say, "Go away," like you might to your mother-in-law that was really nasty to you. By the way, Alan says, the mother-in-law who was nasty, she chose to play that role for you, the antagonistic role for you, to be some reflection for you to learn something. So chances are when you get over there, you'll realize that and go, "Oh, hi, whatever, hi, mom, mother-in-law, like everything's fine. I see who you really are now." I'm just trying to say that if you really don't want to see somebody, you don't have to see them because you're in charge. But you were crossing over, drop your ego, so you probably realized why she was a bitch to you. And so all is forgiven. Like, I don't care anymore. I get it. Thank you. I love you. I'm so glad we can get along now. That's more likely to happen with people that were difficult to you, or even people that abused you. Okay, that beat the crap out of you or what have you. You cross over, you realize why you all were in this movie and why they played that role and you played your role, and you realize, "Oh, I get it. This was that we were in a dream. We were creating this movie to have an experience, and now we're home in the real world where our spirits, our souls never leave." But we expressed a part of our conscious, a part of ourselves into this body, into this world. Or, well, okay, I'll say it's not really like you express part of your consciousness. Yeah, that's true. It's like you're there, but you're also part of you is here, but only a part of you because you're this multidimensional self. So you're having this experience, but you're dreaming here and up over there on the other side. And there's really no over there, by the way, right? Because it's all here. That's just an illusion that there's some other place. It's all here, here, here. But you you were having this experience in this specific body, in this specific place and time. And that's all an illusion. So on the other side, in the spirit world, you're very aware of it. You're aware that you're dreaming in the 3D world, that you're dreaming that you lost your loved one when really you both are still there in the other side. You never left, in fact. You were off on other adventures at the same time. You were completely in love and celebrating life, and everything is going the way that you want it to go over there. Your challenge is to begin to remember that, like, okay, that because what I'm saying to you, we're speaking to your soul, your spirit that's in non-physical, okay, that knows the truth when it hears it or reads it or experiences it. We are doing in especially in our academy, we are doing everything possible to activate and strengthen that sense you have of knowing of the truth. And that's the way to kind of soften the ego, is to more strengthen your spirit, strengthen your soul's under awareness, right? So when you perceive anything, somebody says something, start to notice, like, how does that feel to me? Does that feel even a little uplifting, or does that feel like I'm deflating when I hear that? Does that feel, do I slump a little bit or do I rise up a little bit? That is your emotional guidance system. He's saying your soul kind of giving you feedback, okay, of what you're experiencing. The goal here is to start experiencing life through your higher self, not through your physical mind, your physical self, your ego self. Okay. That takes a while to start to get good at. But first, you've got to be aware. So let's go back to these traditions, like whatever you want to do, you might want to create new traditions. Like I have the new tradition with these, this tree that Ella gave me. And you don't have to wait for a friend to give you something like Swati gave me. You could go shopping and feel guided to probably buy your loved one to go buy something and say, "This is our new tradition. Let's do this. Let's put this little tree up. Like maybe it could be a tabletop tree. Like that, something big or expensive. Could be anything." include them in your decision. And by the way, especially if it's a partner, they're so blended with us that quite often the ideas we get are coming from them. They're giving that idea to maybe go buy that little tree for the dinner table or something, whatever it is. So follow that. Include them in the holidays and planning. Make their favorite dishes for your Thanksgiving meal or holiday meal or what have you, right? That's how you celebrate with them. So just think of what would be fun for you. It doesn't have to be the old traditions like Alan's showing me, like if you used to hang stockings. So, okay, we'll do away for the stockings. Maybe just for this season, maybe next time you bring out new stockings. But if that causes you pain, then don't do it. Do something else. If you don't wanna do a big family dinner, then you know what? Don't do it. If you're thinking of the idea of doing a family get together really makes you feel, like, deflated, don't do it. Do something else. Maybe it's just something small with yourself and a friend, or maybe it is just with you and your loved one. Whatever it is, feel into that. If that other option feels better to you, you go, I feel good about that, even though that doesn't make sense to me, but I feel better about that, then that's your sign. Like, I'll go do that. Maybe have a special ritual, watch your favorite Christmas movie with your loved one, right? Whatever one that they liked or one that you liked. Doesn't have to be always what they liked. They're happy that you do something that brings you joy. So if it's your favorite movie, by all means go watch it, but create a new tradition. Or if you like the old traditions and they still mean a lot to you, then do those. You don't have to create new ones. You don't have to do anything that doesn't feel good to you. We're just saying you have options. If you wanna do the old traditions that you would do with your loved one or family member, by all means, if that makes you happy, you feel like, "That makes me feel good." That's a sign from your higher self, "Let's go do that." But if you don't, if you ask yourself, "What does? What I feel good doing? Let me feel into that, and let that passion, excitement, curiosity, fascination lead the way. Don't use your logic here." As we were talking to a friend of mine, and it's really hard for me to get through to her sometimes because she's so used to making all decisions from their logical mind, and she's struggling because she's very intuitive, but everyone is intuitive, okay? So I'm not gonna say she's only one. All of you are intuitive too, especially because you lost someone you love. That actually triggers a spiritual awakening, whether you're aware of it or not. You become automatically more intuitive because someone through the veil is knocking on your door in about 98% of your cases, well, 99 point, and that is going to open you up. The question is, are you leaning into that, or are you kind of, leaning away? Like, I don't know what to do about this. It's okay, whichever it is. But we're just saying this does lead to you becoming more psychic. So if you're continuing to make decisions from your physical mind, you're going to find life getting a lot more challenging because you're opening up to your spirit, your soul, and now you're not really listening while that part of you is becoming louder, right? So use this time of the holidays to connect because you and I know that they're not gone, and they want to be part of this holiday season. So this is a good time to really build that bridge, make it stronger, make our new memories with them full and rich, and it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It can be, Alan was showing me, it can be as simple as like some of you live in communities where, people decorate their homes and there's places you could drive through, right, and go see all the decorations. So go do that if you never did that before. And if you did do that before because that was part of your tradition, then go do that. And listen to your loved one guide you through all that. Okay, because Alan's saying to me, they are going to speak to you during this time. So you want to listen. And now he's showing me our suggestion. And we'll remind you getting closer to Christmas too. But what he's showing me is especially on whatever your holiday you celebrate, whether that's Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever, it doesn't matter. Kwanzaa, it doesn't matter. Whatever your special holiday time is, like use that day, that time to sit and connect with your loved one and tell them what you want them to know on this day, and then listen to what they want to tell you and write that down. Maybe that becomes another part of your holiday tradition, that you're writing down their message for you on this special day. Uh, because I promise you, they have a message. It's a question of, are you willing to trust what you hear or what you see or feel? Because he's saying some of you might not hear a message, but might get something in your mind, right? Like might get images, like they're communicating in that way. So, whatever way it comes, though, start taking note of what they're telling you, what they're wanting you to feel or see or hear or know. And you will create certainly a new experience of every holiday, whether it's birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, all of that, because they do draw in closer. Right. So do whatever, create whatever, use your imagination, bring them into the decision. Like, what are we going to do? How do you want to celebrate? Do you want it just be you and me? Do you want it to be just a few other people? Do you want a big family thing? What do you want? And as you do that, as you talk to them and include them, guess what? In time, you'll realize they are still here. This is my new memory of them, because otherwise, if you don't create the new memories, the reason you think back to the past, why you feel so sad and heartbroken, is because you're looking for them and they're not there. Because they're right here, right here. I mean, right here, literally right here, right here, right here, right here. Okay, right here. And we're looking for them where they're not. And so because we do that, we're going to feel the gap of that loss because we're not looking for them where they are. So look for your loved ones right here where they are. I don't mean you forget the past. You can't do that. We're not talking about ignoring your memories or just deliberately not thinking of them. We're not talking about that. But in the early days of Alice's passing, just like you, I'm sure all of you did this. I looked at photos from our wedding and cried and cried and cried and wished that I could crawl into those wedding photos and live there forever. I couldn't look at any photo without crying terribly. Now I look at those photos and I go, wow, isn't that great? Remember when we did that? Wasn't that fun? Da, da, on and on. And it's just fills me with joy. I don't feel sad at all. I am so grateful that I had all that times with him, all those experiences with him, and I'm not sad at all. And I look through all those photos and feel his joy and him talking to me. You can get to that place, but you gotta go through your grief, you gotta process that, feel what all your feelings, and stop looking for them in the past, though, and look for them here. That's why in our academy, I keep people really focused on, let's be right here where they are. So that's why we guide everybody through meditations and attunements to help them connect, help bring them in, because they are with us in class. Alan's teaching at the same time in the spirit world as we're meeting and online and Zoom. So we're always trying to bring everybody to here. And that's why people who study with us start to have more connection, more experiences. Not everybody's at a different place. And their loved one is studying, so they're at a different place too. They're all there, but they're all learning. And this takes time. I can't, you know, make this be faster for anybody. It's going to take as long as it takes for everybody. So I don't know if you understand that you are helping your loved ones on the other side grow and experience something that very few spirits over there get to. What we're doing here is not common at all. So can you imagine being in the spirit world where the number one thing is growth and change and new experiences. That's what they're hungry for. Can you imagine being there and say and realizing, oh, my loved one who's in the physical wants to still connect with me, and we can have this relationship through the veil that they will learn from, I will learn from, that hasn't been done before. That's like it. Alice says that's like their dream come true, literally, dream come true. Wow, I can have it all. I can be in the spirit world. I can be with my loved ones in the physical. I can talk to them. I can be here. I can tell them what I'm learning, when and if I'm ready and they're ready to hear it, right? Like so much is possible. So what you're doing is tremendous. And the last thing I want to close with is I want to leave you with this to understand that we're all one. We're all one. There's only really one soul. That's why the whole idea of twin souls is a bit of a misunderstanding. There's only one soul anyway. The twin soul relationship is just really intense. That's the only difference. We're really all one soul. Okay. But because we are one soul, what we are doing, you and I, here in this group, and especially, Alan's underlining, especially in the academy, we are helping other people do what we are doing because people, trust me, people around the world, even right now, are beginning to be able to connect to the spirit world spontaneously, perhaps with a loved one, perhaps with a guide, angel, you name it. But they're able to do that because we are doing that. Okay, we are doing that. What we do impacts the world. That is how reality is, especially something positive. And Alan's saying, he's saying really revolutionary. That's how change happens. It happens with at least one person who takes it, because this idea of relationships through the veil, it's an idea whose time has come. And nothing is more powerful and nothing is more unstoppable than an idea whose time has come. And that's going to lead to a shift in consciousness, not of everyone, but the ones who are ready, who are on the cusp, who are open to it, they'll be able to connect more easily. And that's why what we're already seeing is some of the newer people that come into our academy just take off running. Like they just boom. Okay. But again, everybody's different, so nobody should compare or judge. But it's because we've already been laying this foundation. Spirit told me there's so many major shifts are going to happen for all of us, whether you're in the main group, the soulmates group, or especially in the academy, because we've got so many things planned. By the way, I just did a podcast the other day. That podcaster was so impressed by our story, by me and by Alan, because she could feel him. She invited me to be a guest teacher in her program. So, because she like me says people should know that this is possible, that we don't die and we can continue. So, I mean, the first thing is we don't die. People are beginning to realize that. The second thing is you can continue a relationship and even have a better relationship than when they were in a body. And you can even be happier than when they're in a body, or at least as happy as, okay? Okay, because I know we'd all rather them be in a body, but you can be at least as happy as when they're here, because you're going to be all that you are. And that is a huge difference. That is what you came here for. If you're in our group, you were guided here. There's no accidents. Because I said to the universe, I bring me only the people who are ready for this. And not all of them will stay. I get it. They'll stay for as long as it's a fit. But if you're here and you feel called to this, your higher self is basically telling you, here, this is where you need to be. This is what you need to do. And that's true if you feel this sense of excitement, curiosity, interest, passion. Okay, that's your higher self saying you're on the right path. Keep going. Keep going until you do not feel that anymore. And if you don't, then that means there's another path that's going to open up to you. Okay, that's what it means to follow your guidance. That's what it means to be who you really are. Join us on the supernatural love train. That's what we call our academy, the supernatural love train. Join us on the train. We're taking off for heaven, charting a path through the higher dimensions to get there. Okay. So anyway, wishing you a lot of love. See you next time. All right. Bye bye now.